Sorry. Next, moving on to agenda item H, Executive Committee Report. We are going to start with H1, review and possible approval of the March 21st, 2019 board meeting minutes. Does anyone have any edits to the minutes?
Motion is second.
Second.
I'll second. He's first, I'll second. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
All right. So we do have a first and second, correct? All right. Is there any board comment? Any public comment? Felice, can you take the roll?
Ronald Richardson,
Aye.
Kevin Ebenez, Frank Altamira,
Yes.
Augie Beltran, David Delatorre,
Aye.
Dave Diaz, Susan Granzella, Joan Hancock, Mike Layden, Frank Shetter, Johnny Simpson, Nancy Springer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, item H2 is the review and possible approval of the May 13, 2019 Public Affairs, Licensing, Enforcement, and Legislative Committee meeting summary reports. There's one edit to the Public Affairs Committee summary on page 291, the title for Christy Sledge to Legal Counsel. Does anyone have any other edits to the summary reports?
I'm good with it, thank you.
First and second, please.
So is that an approval of the minutes with the amendment on page 291?
Yes. Any board comment? Any public comment? Felice, can you do roll call?
Ronald Richardson,
Aye.
Kevin Ebenez, Frank Altamira,
Aye.
Augie Beltran, David Delatorre,
Aye.
Dave Diaz, Susan Granzella, Joan Hancock,
Aye.
Mike Layden, Frank Shetter, Johnny Simpson, Nancy Springer. Motion passes.
Next, we're going to move on to agenda item H3, the Registrar's Report. Dave?
Thank you, Chair Richardson. I'd like to take these separately. The first is an update on our research and our meetings that may support mandating workers' compensation insurance for specified classifications. As we talked about during the licensing committee meeting, we have a lot of licensees that do have exemptions. What we have found in meeting with State Compensation Insurance Fund, with different industry leaders, in meeting with other state agencies, that there's a real need to look at classifications that are likely to have employees, because what's happening is we have consumers that are being put in jeopardy when they have uninsured workers at their house. We have employees that, if injured, may well wind up in an emergency room, or they would have to go to the Uninsured Employers Benefit Trust Fund, which can be a fairly intensive process for them to pursue damages or a remedy to their injury. And then finally, we have employers that are trying to compete, paying workers' comp premiums, and their bid would be higher than somebody that's not paying the same. And in conducting these meetings, 3 industries stepped out and said, we support what the board is looking to do. And those industries would be the C8 concrete, the C20 heating and air conditioning, and the tree, or the arborists, the tree care industry. And so based upon the research that we've done, What we're proposing to do is to work with Kevin Albanese, who is a remaining member of the Workers' Compensation Insurance Advisory Committee, to put a legislative proposal together to mandate workers' comp for those classifications, and perhaps also tie into it the ability to be more effective with our audits so that we can protect the employers that have workers' comp and are paying the appropriate payroll. And that would in turn be submitted, that ledger proposal would go to legislative committee at the next legislative committee meeting. Are there any questions regarding what we've done? I should add that we do have minutes from an April 4th, 2019 meeting that we had at State Compensation Insurance Fund. The minutes are here in this meeting, and for anybody that's watching, they'll be made available when the minutes are completed for this meeting. So if there are no questions on that, I'd like to go to my second agenda items real quick, the tentative board meeting schedule. We're planning to have, you'll be voting on a new board chair, and I will be working with that board chair and putting the next meetings together. But what we're going to propose is that we would have a legislative committee meeting the last week of July or the first week of August. The purpose of that meeting will be for really 3 agenda items. One would be public comment, but also it would be the opportunity to present publicly our proposed language for the energy storage system regulation. So we're going to need to have a room that could accommodate a number of speakers that may want to weigh in on that. But the third agenda item would be legislation mandating workers' compensation insurance for specified classifications. And again, we're looking at the 3 I previously discussed. So that would be last week of July, first week of August. We were planning to have a board meeting in Sacramento in September. I would welcome your feedback on whether we should consider holding that board meeting in Butte County. The advantage to having it in Butte County is that we could tour the Paradise area disaster. I believe we can get a tour from the mayor of Paradise or some other elected official. So what do you think about having a meeting in Butte County in September?
I think it would be fantastic. I also, one other consideration, not necessarily for the September meeting, for the new chair or whatever, is considering having a meeting either like at Chico State or Cal Poly where the students are coming out, construction management, and really just trying to tie in that other aspect. But I think a disaster area would be really eye-opening for us so that we could really see the people that we're touching and protecting in the state of California.
Yeah, I agree that would be great up there. The only issue is I don't really like the last week of July or first week of August. I might be able to do a little bit of that last week of July, but in August I'm in Alaska unless I can do a remote from Alaska, which I don't think is going to be able to happen. So,
If you can find a public location.
Kenai River.
You mentioned Chico State. That's a little bit further away from Paradise, where Butte College is right there, and they have some more programming. So that might be another location as well.
Thank you, Dave. Next, we'll go to our Chief Deputy Registrar, Tanya Corcoran, who will lead us through our next 3 agenda items.
Thank you, Chair Marlowe. The budget update begins on page 319. I'm going to walk you through the charts here. Our first chart shows our budget and expenditures. So we've expended roughly 69% of the fiscal year 2018-19 budget. So we're doing very good with our budget right now. The chart below shows us the revenues through April 30th. Overall, we're up about 6.2% over the prior fiscal year. Moving to page 320 is our fund condition, which projects our budget out to 2020, 2021. The estimated expenditures factor in our typical reversion, which is about $2.5 million annually. And so this will leave us, when we're looking at this over the next few years, to still be at 2.3 months in reserves. We do have a statutory cap of 6 months, so for us, based on our size and our budget, to be between 2 and 3 months of reserves is a good place to be. So we are maintaining that reserve balance. On page 321 is the construction management education account fund condition. I did want to note that there is a correction to the second column, which is the projected current year 2018-19. We actually dispersed 100,000, not 110, so that will change slightly what our balance will be. And grants were awarded to 273 students at 3 institutions. They each received about $366. So the last is moving to our statistics summary, which is pages 322 through 324. I just would like to point out original applications. I know Justin talked about how we are seeing an increase in applications. When we're looking at it year to year, it's about a 24% increase for original applications. So that's the second chart there that's showing that. So that concludes the budget report. Are there any questions from the board? So with that, I'll move to the administration update. That begins on page 327. We start with our recruitments. So we completed 24 personnel transactions. So in the third quarter, that's what we're tracking with that. We've had 4 employees that were promoted and 5 employees were transferred to different units. We break down at the bottom what those recruitments were per quarters. If we turn the page, we'll move to looking at our vacancies. So since October of this year, we've been under 25 vacancies, where we started at the beginning of the fiscal year, we were in the 30s or, right at 30. But I did want to let you know that in May, we closed with 19 vacancies. So I'm very happy that we're continuing to be very diligent in filling our positions. A couple of things coming up that we've done. In March, we added working titles to all of our job classifications, all the duty statements. We're hoping that will also help broaden search criteria for applicants so that they understand and can use that to look for openings at the Contractors Board. And we are going to be conducting a career consulting class. We're going to host that in October, but we have surveyed employees. Right now, we have interest from 25 employees that want to attend that. So we're going to continue to solicit input, but 25 is still a good number to hold that class. And that'll be to help our employees to understand how they can complete their application, statement of qualifications, look for upward mobility opportunities and whatnot. And then down at the bottom of page 328, we note about the fact that we had to eliminate 21.5 positions. That was due to a budget letter. That was noted in our sunset report. I wanted to advise you that the Department of Finance with Department of Consumer Affairs and ourselves, we've been working on this, and they have authorized us 19 of those positions permanently. So instead of them getting wiped, we were able to retain 19. So we're very happy with that result. They are filled positions, so it's not, they've been filled since 2011-12 when they were sweeped. We have been doing them, but they've been limited term, so we've not been able to. We didn't know when they were going to take them away. So at this point, they are permanent, and we'll see that change in our authorized positions. So instead of being 407, come July, we'll have a total of 426 perm positions. Okay. The next page shows our exams. The 2 exams that are coming up are Enforcement Rep 1 in June and Program Technician 2. So those are the exams that are on the horizon. And for facilities, I won't go into it. It's kind of business as usual, but this does provide the snapshot on page 330 and 331. I would say our major renovation in Sacramento is still ongoing with the Public Affairs Studio, but our hearing room we have access to now, so we're happy about that. And with that, I'll move to the strategic plan objectives. So if we look at page 332, Objective 5.1, we have completed this. This is where we wanted in-house legal counsel, In June of 2018, DCA did assign a second part-time counsel. That's Fred Chan Yu. He comes out to the board 2 to 3 days a week as needed to help us address the heavy PRA workload, Public Records Act requests, and subpoena workloads. So he's there. For 5.3, we're looking at training on progressive discipline for our managers and supervisors. We have 16 managers and supervisors signed up for an October training class, and we're going to be looking at January. CalHR is going to begin providing that training, which is our control agency. We'll get more supervisors in that come January. Moving to 5.4, it was the team building leadership training for our managers and supervisors. That's been completed. In January, we held a 2-day leadership training course. We had 45 of our managers and supervisors in attendance. A predominant number of those were enforcement managers. And so that concludes my update on admin strategic objectives. Is there any comments?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
Progressive discipline on 5.3, is that performance management?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right, with that, then I'll move to the IT update, which begins on page 337 of your packet. So first, I wanted to advise the board that our former IT chief, John Cleveland, he accepted promotion. So his last day with the board was May 17th. So until a new IT chief is selected, I've set up a temporary office in the IT division so I can immerse my, Christy's laughing. Sorry. So I'm running back and forth between 2 offices to immerse myself in more of the day-to-day activities of the IT division, but also to assist the 2 managers, that's Mike and Raju, with policy direction, establishing priorities, and when needed, providing management oversight. So are there any questions regarding that? Okay. With not, then I'll move on to the packet, which is on page 337. Our first one, we highlight it's a high-level overview, and this provides an overview of our network architecture, data storage, and disaster recovery plan. So John Cleveland had provided a demonstration at the December 2018 board meeting. Susan Granzella, who is one of our IT advisory committee members, recommended that we include this again as data storage and security is critical. So so if you flip a few pages on page 341, it provides a chart that kind of lays out where our information is housed and how it interacts. But I did want to note a few interesting facts, which is our TEAL system houses over 6 million records. Our exam sites can operate up to 3 days without connectivity, and we have 14 remote locations where information is electronically passed. So just wanted to share that with you. So for the moment, I'm going to skip over the public data portal project, as Rick will be providing us a demonstration at the end of the IT update. So we'll move to page 338 under the American Disability Act Web Accessibility Compliance Project. So recently passed legislation requires that all departments by July 1, 2019 certify that our website complies with specific ADA compliance standards. So to accomplish this, we're approaching this in 2 phases. We have phase 1 is to ensure that all newly created documents posted come July will be compliant. So we're training staff in each division to create the documents. And with this, you may see in our charts on our board packet have a different look. Pie charts are something that's very hard when you're trying to do a scan of a document to make it compliant. So we'll have more charts that just display numbers and not having pie charts are related to that. And then additionally, the Office of the Attorney General has committed to provide what's importantly our accusations and stipulated settlements in a compliant format. And so that's where we know that we get a lot of hits and looks on our website. And when we're looking at approximately 500 of those documents every year being posted, that's going to certainly be beneficial that we're going to be able to post those compliant. But we do have a tremendous amount of historical data on our website that we're going to need to address. And so we're going to be looking at that as we're considering that phase 2. So we'll look at updating our documents that are most hit. So we're getting a list of all, looking at the website, what are the most hit documents. We'll start with those first to addressing those that are least hit on the website. We're also going to look at if we can remove or archive documents that are no longer required to be on the website. And then we'll look at if we need to consider hiring a contractor, if we need to assist us on making those documents compliant. Okay. So with that, just wanted to point you to page 339, and that's our IT Systems Enhancements. So this is a chart that we started a couple board meetings ago where we're keeping a tally for the year of all the changes that have been done in IT division. If we turn to page 340, what we have bolded for you at the bottom is all of the updates that have been since the last board meeting. I did want to note and highlight that network core switch infrastructure replacement is a major infrastructure change that the staff made. They did it after hours at night. Several staff worked on it, and it was a nail biter. We're like, are we going to come in tomorrow morning? Is it going to work? And it went off without a hitch. They did a great job. So really want to shout out to the IT staff that worked on that and made that transition very smooth and seamless. Okay, with that, we'll move to our strategic plan update. And many of the items are in progress, so I'm not going to cover those. We'll wait till we have action on those items. But item 5.11 has been completed. And this is where we've established an online process to automate our public sales. And it actually does a little bit more than that. We're calling that the public data portal that I had mentioned a few minutes ago. We have a demonstration on this portal. For that, I'm going to turn it over to Rick Lopes. But first, I'd like to thank all the IT staff for their hard work on developing this and building and designing this platform. A lot more goes into it than even I realized. When you look at it and you go, oh, this is very simple, but many hours and long days were spent trying to build this. And thank you, Rick, for your editing expertise, ensuring that it was user-friendly, but that it was also easy to navigate. So with that, I turn it over to you, Rick. Thanks.
Thanks, and a word of warning to the folks on this side, we're going to actually project it up on the wall behind you, so you'll probably want to move this. Room's a little bit limited on where we could show this. Actually, Nancy, can you see if any of those switches maybe turn the lights lower? I'm not sure which ones work for which. There, that might help. Well, okay. All right, so as Tanya mentioned, this was undertaken by our Office of Information Technology, and it was part of the strategic plan, item 5.11. As far as the project goals, our IT team is looking to create a one-stop spot on our website to provide expanded license information free of charge. We want to be able to make that information available 24/7 in real time, and I'll talk about how we're accomplishing that. And also, this is going to go to help us reduce the number of Public Records Act requests, because some of this information that they look for in those requests are now going to be available to them online. So currently, when people in the public look for license information, the license lists, we've got a couple different ways they can get it, and there are fees that are charged for that. There's one that's called a master file, and there's a custom order file. The basics of a master file, that's the entire license file, license record. There's upwards of, I think, 1 million records in that. Then there's also a custom order file. Let's say somebody wants to find all of the licensed contractors we're in El Dorado County right now, so let's just say El Dorado County. So they can make specifications, and it's a custom order, and it's put together. So the fees that were determined, you can see the $235 for the master fee, the $245 for the custom order fee. Those fees cover the staff time needed to do this, also the materials. Things have gotten a little bit better. In the old days, we had CD-ROMs and things like that we supplied them to. In some cases, that's still the way that we do that. But also, the biggest cost is to be able to access the state's database. data center. And in 2018, you can see that we had 149 master list requests and 170 custom list requests. Okay, to understand how things are changing, I've got a short story. This is the story of the well, the bucket, and the spoon, to help you explain just why the charges are and how we can, dismiss this $235 or $245 fee to zero, and how we're able to do that. So if you think of it as everything that we've got, all of our databases that are in the state data center is the well. And so anytime somebody wants to come and get that record, they come to us and they tell us, we go with a bucket. We go over to the well, we fill the bucket up with water full. So the costs that we have to pay to the state data center are based on how much it costs to get a full bucket of water, all the time it takes to download 1 million files to get a full bucket of water. So what's changed now is with the new system, we have a replicated database that we have. So we go to that well once, we fill it up with a bucket, so we have that cost, but then we have that stored on site at CSLB, and now we are able to manipulate that information into these various searches. So now what happens is, and where the spoon comes into play, whenever there's a change to any of the license records, when we have to go back to the state data center to get that new information out, we're not downloading the entire file again. We're just using a spoon, in essence, and just downloading that one piece of information. So whereas we'd be paying a couple $100s in costs, now we're paying just a few cents as part of this. So we think by the combination of making that automated, we're reducing the costs on the side, the access to the state data center. We're also doing a big reduction in staff costs because we don't have to have our staffs manually run these and process the paperwork. The cashiering department doesn't have to cashier the checks. That's all going to be free and available. So the well, the bucket, and the spoon. I know you'll be talking about that at dinner tonight. All right. So as far as the public data portal project, this did start in March. So actually, it's only been a couple months. So there's been staff from 3 different units within our IT division: the client server applications unit, the data services support, and the programming unit. And we'll have a picture of the people involved at the end, so you can see there really are a lot of people, and they've worked very hard, and they're very passionate about their consumer protection role. And so now we have 2 options that are going to be available for the public. The first one is they're going to be able to do their custom licenses. You can look in up to 10 classifications in up to 10 different counties per search. If you just want something in 1 county, 1 classification, you can do it. If you want it in 4 counties and 6 classifications, you can do it. If you want 8 classifications in 2 counties, you can do that. There's any of those combinations you can do. So that's one way you can get a list. And then you're also going to be able to download that master list. And that includes the currently renewed or expired but renewable licenses. Part of what we're doing to keep the costs down is a lot of people do come to us because they are going to use these lists as marketing tools to market to contractors. So what we're not going to make available on this, because we don't feel there's a big need for all of the licensees that their license has been expired for 10, 15, 20 years. So only ones that will be available on the master list are currently active licenses, which we call currently renewed, or they're expired but renewable. If you have an expired license, you've got up to 5 years to renew it without having to go back through your tests. So technically, at any time, you can go back and get that license going again. So we're going to keep those on the list. Okay, so here's just a brief overview. This is what the page is going to look like. And I'll just run through it just quickly for you, because I know it's a little difficult to see. So again, that's the list where you can look up a list by contractors, by classification, or the county. The next option is to do the master lists. And then we're also keeping on this page the 2 features we already have, which is the Find My License Contractor, which we talked about a little earlier, and the Instant License Check. So we wanted to make this the one-stop portal. In case they want to just do those searches, they know they can get to those as well. Okay, so if you go to the first one, which is the custom one, the license by classification and county, we show them the different kinds of information that will be provided. If you can't see it, it's license number, business name, address, telephone, license status, the basic information that you're going to see for each contractor. We also do note that email addresses are not provided. The format it shows there, it's available into Excel, it shows that there's no fees. So then down below here, this is where you make your criteria. The first one you can do is you can choose the classification. Again, you can go up to 10, anything up to 10, and it'll show you in there as you pick the different classifications on the drop-down list, it'll show you which ones you've chosen. And then you're able to go down to the counties and, again, select up to 10 different counties that you want to use. And now here's a sample of what you're going to get. It's an Excel file, and I just highlighted just one line so you can see. In this case, we did a search for B general contractors here in El Dorado County, and I just highlighted one just randomly. So you see license number, you see it's a sole ownership, the name of the company, the address, that it's in El Dorado County. Actually, this one happens to be here in South Lake Tahoe. You see the classifications, you see the current status. You see their surety company for their bond information. You got their workers' comp. You see in this case they happen to be exempt from workers' comp. So that's an example of what that file is going to look like. And depending on how big you search, it'll determine how many hits come back to you. And again, it's just all in an Excel file. Okay, for the master list, this is how that one is going to look. And we actually have 3 different types of master lists that you can order. The first one is that main license master list, which is everything that we provide. You can also order, because in some cases, actually the license list, if you look on there, it does not include the personnel information, because licenses can include multiple people, and then that Excel file ends up being, a bunch of lines for some and not for others. So we've got a different one that they can download that will tie it with the personnel together. And then we also have one that's tied in with the workers' comp. So you can order that, and it provides you with the information on the contractors and their workers' comp. And just a sample of that here again, you can shows either the license master, the workers' comp list, or the personnel list. And an example of that, it looks very similar what you get through all the license information. And in this case, you see the workers' comp insurance, the policy number, the name of the company. You've got in this case, I believe it's the bond too. You see, have dates that are effective, dates they expire. So it provides a lot of information that the people that want this information are going to be able to do. The great thing about this again is going to be, since as I described with the well in the bucket, sometimes when people would come to us for our master lists, we run those usually at the start of the month. So when somebody orders the list, there's a chance it could be 2 or 3 weeks old. With this new system that we're going to have in place, it's going to be live in real time. So anything that gets updated, somebody pulls a list within a few minutes after that gets updated, they're going to get the updated information. So again, another improvement besides now being free. As far as the timeline, we are still finishing up our internal testing. We expect to be able to get that done in the next couple of weeks. We're planning to tie out a news release and to publicize this in the go-live date. In the booklet, you saw that I think we were looking at around July 1st. It could be more towards mid-July, just depends on how the testing's in case we don't come up with any problems. Everything right now is working great. Again, the IT team is doing a great job, and we're very confident that things are going to work well, and it will be ready in a few weeks. I wanted to show you, this is the main team that's been responsible for this. So we wanted to be sure that the board members that you got to see that there are a lot of people behind the scenes that you may not see a lot, but they are just as passionate as those of us that you deal with on a regular basis. So this is our IT team: Raju, Renee, Amanda, Cindy, Aravind, and Michael. Our hats off to all of them. I'm sure you join me in that. They've done hundreds of hours of work on this, and we're excited to be able to offer this to the public. And that is a good overview of the new data portal.
Thank you, Rick. Tanya, are you done?
So that concludes the IT update. Are there any questions from the
Just a
board?
quick question. The instant license check that we're doing on that portal page, that's not coming off the homepage, the landing page?
No, absolutely
Okay,
not. This is
perfect.
just an
All right.
addition, just a link to it.
Perfect.
Is there any public comment on the presentation? 5, 4.
Point of order through the chair. Don't you need a tie too?
And pants.
It's nice getting old. All the years I wore ties and suits, and we'd go to Palm Springs for all these license board meetings, and we'd be out there cooking. So, yeah, one of these times that I had to come in shorts today. So, hi, I'm Phil Vermeulen, representing Contractor Licensing Center and Civil Contractors Association. Flasher Barricade Association is one of them. And I just want to congratulate Rick and his staff. This is a long time coming. I think you're going to see some very innovative ways that this can be used to help the consumer, help the contractor. This is a win-win. That's all I'm going to say at this point, but stay tuned. There's going to be some exciting things. I've been waiting several years for this to come to fruition. So I've got a pent-up staff ready to go, and we're going to have some fun. So look forward to working with the Registrar and the staff on some exciting things ahead in the future. Thanks.
Thank you. We are moving on to agenda item H7, the election of our 2019-2020 board officers. The nominating committee consisted of Augie Beltran and Nancy Springer, who will provide a recommended slate of officers, which are chair, vice chair, and secretary for the next fiscal year, which starts July 1st. I'll turn the floor over to Augie.
Thank you, Chair. Board Member Springer and I met to prepare the board slate. Today, the vote will consist of 3 board officer positions, will be held in the following order: chair, vice chair, and secretary. For each office, I will nominate the candidate that the committee recommends. Then I will ask if there is a motion from the floor for any other individuals the board members would like to nominate. So we don't need a motion for the people that's already been recommended, just if there's someone else. All floor nominations will require a second. Candidates will then be given up to 2 minutes to make their statement or describe why they are qualified for the position. Then we'll take a roll call vote for each nominee in alphabetical order. Members can vote by yes, no, or abstain. The first nominee to receive a majority of the affirmative votes in favor of that person, that is, members voting yes, will win the position. I'll now proceed to the nomination of the office of chair. Our committee recommends nomination of Johnny Simpson for office of the chair. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? There being no other nominations, I will now close the nominations. Vice Chair Simpson, would you like to make a brief statement? You don't have to. That was brief.
Thank you.
Any comments from the public? Feliz.
Kevin Albanese. Aye. Frank Altamira.
Aye.
Augie Beltran.
Aye.
David De La Torre.
Aye.
Dave Diaz.
Yes.
Susan Granzella. Aye. Joan Hancock.
Aye.
Mike Layden.
Aye.
Marlo Richardson.
Aye.
Frank Schroeder.
Aye.
And Johnny Simpson.
Aye.
And Nancy Springer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Congratulations. Next is a nomination for vice chair. Our committee recommends nomination of David De La Torre. Are there any nominations from the floor? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? It's a union thing. We asked 3 times. It makes the DOL happy.
Yes, it does.
Being no other nominations, I will now close the nominations. Board Member De La Torre, you can have a brief statement. You don't have to make one.
Well, thank you. As you know, I am one of the most vocal board members here, so I appreciate the vote of confidence. Thank you.
Feliz.
Kevin Albanese. Aye. Frank Altamira.
Aye.
Augie Beltran.
Aye.
David De La Torre.
Aye.
Dave Diaz.
Yes.
Susan Granzella. Aye. Joan Hancock.
Aye.
Mike Layden.
Aye.
Marlo Richardson.
Aye.
Johnny Simpson. Oh, sorry. Frank Schroeder. Johnny Simpson.
Aye.
Nancy Springer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Congratulations. Finally, we have the nomination of board secretary. Our committee recommends nomination of Susan Granzella. Are there any other nominations from the floor? I'm going to say it 2 more times. Okay. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? With that, I now close nominations. Susan, would you like to make a even briefer statement.
Sitting next to Kevin, I have to. Well, you just saw how well I could read instructions and follow them, so vote for me.
There you have it. Feliz?
Kevin Albanese. Frank Altamura.
Yes.
Augie Beltran.
Aye.
David Delatorre.
Aye.
Dave Diaz.
Yes.
Susan Granzella. Joan Hancock.
Aye.
Mike Layden. Marlo Richardson.
Aye.
Frank Shetter. Johnny Simpson. Nancy Springer. Motion passes.
Congratulations. And congratulations to our newly elected chair, vice chair, and secretary who will assume the duties of the respective offices on July 1st. That ends our report. Thank you.
Thank you, Augie. Before we conclude today's meeting, I just want to remind everyone that tonight's dinner at 6:30, if you are interested in carpooling, just kind of hang tight after the meeting, and I believe we're going to work that out. That adjourns our business for today, the meeting. Motion,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
board comment, public comment.
I have a comment. Frank's fine.
Please, roll call, please.
Marlo Richardson.
Aye.
Kevin Albanese. Frank Altamura.
Aye.
Augie Beltran. David Delatorre.
Aye.
Dave Diaz. Susan Granzella. Joan Hancock.
Aye.
Mike Layden. Frank Shetter. Johnny Simpson. Nancy Springer. The motion passes.
Thank you. I'll see you all in the morning, 8:30, with our joint Nevada board meeting.